Yo! My bad. If it's a little loud, I'm sorry. I'm home by myself, so I can make a lot more noise. But it's good, y'all. It's Roger Man, and today we're back again with another video. This is gonna be just a short little rundown. Shout out to Buc-ee's, you know what I'm saying? I got the Buc-ee's t-shirt. It's really more or less in this video mainly gonna be about just a few of the little takeaways that I got from SmackDown. I was at work. You know what I'm saying? But the way I do my work, I can still watch stuff while I'm doing my job. So that being considered and said, that being thought of and heard, now that that's had a chance to resonate throughout all your mush brains out there. The show basically started with CM Punk because they were in Chicago. That's the first American crowd they've been in since this European tour. So they start off with Chicago. And, in WWE, it basically means, or in wrestling, it almost kind of translates to if we're in Chicago and we have CM Punk, we're starting the show with CM Punk. It's almost like that's a universal thing. That's like a universal thing that everybody knows. Like, if you're in Chicago, you're probably going to have to end up starting the show with CM Punk because he's just the most identifiable name from Chicago, and he's in general just one of the most recognizable people when it comes to when you know where somebody's from. He's one of the most recognizable people, as in you for sure know where he's from. Certain people, he's probably been as I turn off this light, he has been the most he's probably marketed, said, whatever words you want to put, more than anybody where he's from. You know how people be like, oh, I'm from they'll make that a point in their promos to always say where they're from. He's probably done that more than anybody. But anyway, so Chicago, CM Punk, he basically goes out there and he was saying that he thanks everybody who has been on this journey to get him in the main. I ain't taking no notes, by the way, as you can see. But thanks everybody, because I couldn't, I was at work. He thanks everybody for basically playing a part in getting to this WrestleMania main event, because he's main eventing the night one of WrestleMania this year at WrestleMania 41. So he's thanking everybody. He said, thank you, Chicago, and how everybody said that I wasn't supposed to be here. From when I first got here in 2005, they were trying to get me up out of there. And, they didn't. You know what I'm saying? They basically kept trying to get him, but the old regime didn't like him, didn't really see him as the star, and tried to get him up out of there, but he earned it. And so because the fans were saying, you deserve it, he was like, nah, I didn't deserve it, I earned it. You know what I'm saying? So it was that. Basically, it was a hometown promo saying that he basically shouldn't be here. That was the kind of theme of the promo, was that, I basically shouldn't be here for all I've been through, even when I was born, that, pumped the life back into me. I was blue and they had to get the life back into me. I wasn't supposed to be here. That was the whole thing of the promo, was I wasn't supposed to be here, but I'm here. And so it was a little, basically a little hometown baby face, getting the people behind them, because they already, they all love each other. Chicago loves Punk, Punk loves Chicago, all that type of good jazz. Then we hear, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman comes out there, there's some, they like Paul, there's some ECW chants that eventually broke out. And basically Paul Heyman is saying that, you earned this main event, you know what I'm saying? You worked for it for a long time. So basically he's co-signing on what it, but he was like, I need you to do me a favor. And he's like, well, you basically already owe me a favor, what you got to tell me? And Heyman said, can you please do me a favor of telling me what this goddamn favor is? Because, that's the whole thing, is that, Paul Heyman helped Punk, or Paul Heyman, called for CM Punk. They're real friends and stuff like that. He called in for CM Punk to help the Bloodline at War Games Survivor Series last year, and Punk has a favor now that he has from Paul, and Paul's like, you do me a favor of telling me what this favor is. And he said, whenever your, tribal chief decides to show up, I'm going to let him know to his face. So that's how they started the show. It was a great, good segment. Did a perfect and great job of setting up what we saw at the end. They did that thing where they started the show with the main event angle, main event story, and ended it with the main event story. So it kind of keeps the people watching throughout the show. You're sticking around for when is Roman going to show up, because that was the whole thing. Because Paul Heyman had said in his promo that Roman is going to be here. So Punk, knowing that now, he was like, well, I'm gonna wait till he's here because I want to tell him to his face. So Roman wasn't even advertised for SmackDown, by the way. So this was a surprise for the both of us, right? Like 2 weeks in a row, Roman shows up. You know, like consistent weeks of television, Roman showing up. That's crazy. So yeah, they set it up basically for the whole show was centered around when is Roman gonna get here and what is the favor, because Punk said he would tell us the favor when Roman gets here. So they saved that for the end of the show, obviously. So that was a good way of making the sandwich, right? Starting it here and then, just, all the stuff in the middle and then closing it, perfectly right. But anyway, in the middle of the show, and this is in no order, I'm just going to go whatever. I'm going to go off the short stuff first. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre had a promo package. Drew basically saying how Damian Priest screwed him out of all this and he can't poke a hole in any of the logic of him saying Damian Priest screwed him. And the only reason why anybody even talks about Damian Priest is because of Drew McIntyre, because of all of the, Damian Priest's brightest moments of him cashing in, of him, of Punk getting involved in Drew McIntyre's business and Damian Priest eliminating Drew McIntyre from the Royal Rumble, Drew McIntyre getting eliminated by way of a pinfall, getting eliminated from the Elimination Chamber was from pinfall by Damian Priest. So basically Drew is saying that like all of your relevance is tied to the stuff you did to me. So, you can't poke a hole in that logic and you screwed me too many times, and basically that he's gonna, finish him for that. And Damian Priest is saying, like, you want to be the victim so bad, you know what I'm saying? I'm basically going to make you my victim. And here's the thing. You say that I screwed you over and over again, but the problems that that you had, you caused. Like, so when you want to talk about CM Punk getting involved in our match or whatever, or you tried to cash in on me and CM Punk cost you that, like, you created that problem with CM Punk. So you can't be surprised that when things don't go your way, when you're the one who caused the issue with that person. So then you can't be surprised that they gonna come after you started that issue. So he's like, you know what, you want to be the victim so bad? Fine. I'm gonna make you my victim when I see you in the center of the ring and, beat you at WrestleMania, basically. So that was that, nice little stuff there. Like, I'm a little better. I still feel like Drew should have did something bigger. But here's the thing, I'll say this. I'm not a big fan of, like, Damian Priest, in a sense that I feel like he is not on quite the same level as like the other top guys in WWE, like Drew and Randy and Kevin and Cody and CM Punk and John Cena and like all these, Roman stuff, like all these other main event guys. I don't think Priest is there yet, but he always has a convincing tone in his voice and the story perfectly makes sense. So it's not like, I just think Drew could have done something bigger. That's my thing. I think he should have done something, but with all the great work he did last year with Drew McIntyre, with Drew McIntyre did with Punk and how big that was and how that was easily, feud of the year, and rivalry of the year, and so to some people of the decade, of this generation, whatever. It's just great work, great stuff. You would have thought that he would have elevated from that, right? Like, do a bigger story. But this story makes sense. It's just not bigger to me. Like, it's not an elevation from what he did with Punk, even though that would have been hard to top. But there was still options. But either way, WrestleMania panned out how we panned out. We ain't even about to go on a long time. This video could be 30 minutes for all I got done, have to say and talk about. But moving on. So that was nice little stuff there. Moving on. Again, I'm going for the stuff that lasted the shortest. So, as far as for shortest for me to talk about. Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman had a match, and Jacob Fatu won the match by doing his, I'll call it the booty bomb, where they run from one corner to the other and go butt first into the guy's face, run into him like that. I always call it the booty bomb. So, Jacob did a booty bomb to Strowman, but it was through a table, and now Jacob Fatu will be challenging LA Knight at WrestleMania for the United States Championship. I don't even mind seeing Jacob, even though I don't like the whole short title reigns over and over again. I'm actually not even against Jacob Fatu losing winning the United States Championship. I know some people thought we were going to get Jacob in solo, but I just feel like it wouldn't have made sense to have Jacob lose a last man standing match, considering he's supposed to be this beast. It wouldn't have made any sense for him to lose a last man standing match if we're trying to get him over as this big imposing threat and beast. I just don't think it would have, even if solo would have costed him, I still don't think it doesn't look good visually to see a monster like that they're trying to build for the future loses a last man standing match, like pretty much an ultimate match that would prove your beast status. You know what I'm saying? So if you see me pause in between, I'm watching my little my little sound meter go up and down. So I was like, how low can it go? That's why I was like going like pausing in between like this. Yeah. Anyway, all right, my bad. Anyway, so we're gonna get Jacob versus LA Knight. I wouldn't even mind Jacob Fatu winning the United States Championship because honestly, I feel like with the momentum LA Knight got in 2023 Money in the Bank, how I felt he should have won the briefcase and cashed in on Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, like how we got, like basically everything we saw that happened to Damian Priest, I felt should have happened with LA Knight because he was more over, he was fresher, he had the momentum of like a top talent. So hopefully, honestly, I wouldn't even mind him losing at WrestleMania for the U.S. title because by that point, not only will he be a two-time U.S. champion, but it builds up, Jacob Fatu because now he's a champion, a singles champion that's done it on his own. This will also hopefully automatically elevate LA Knight to main event status because he's a two-time United States champion. So I would think that this now puts him on pace to now start having main event feuds so that he could one day win a world title of his own. So I don't even mind him losing this WrestleMania match with Jacob Fatu because I'm ready for LA Knight to be in that main event scene, like be the main guys, whether he's competing for a world title or whether he's in there with guys like Randy Orton or CM Punk or Roman or whoever. Like, I want to see LA Knight in main event feuds now. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we need him in the U.S. title scene, mid-card scene anymore. So if this gets LA Knight to the main event scene so that we now can have, he wins a world title and now we can have another main eventer that we can make the face of this company or close to that. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready for LA Knight to be one of them guys now, man. He's been in the business too long, been entertaining, been over. In a short amount of time, he's in the brief stint of time in that, 6 to 7 month time frame, he got over as quick as he did in WWE. But going off on a little tangent there, the only thing I don't like about this Jacob Fatu LA Knight match is they only have 2 weeks to build it up, but these are two guys that are known for their personality. Jacob's known for his athleticism and how he's just so believable and convincing, but also he's known for, his, we all know the all gas, no brakes, and I'm a dog walk your ass, and he out of I mean, you know what I'm saying? And LA Knight's got his, let me talk to you, and whose game is it? And LA Knight, yeah. And the in general, like they both are known for their trash talking personalities. The only thing I have criticism wise about this match is I wish it had like at least 4 weeks to build, but we only got 2 weeks to build this match. And they're, but like I said, both known for talking they trash on the mic and having that confidence. So this personality wise should be a nice freaking clash, even though they only got 2 weeks to build this match up. Hopefully we can get some good promos between the two and this further interests us in the match. Because this is one of the matches I was really hoping was going to happen last year when LA Knight first became the U.S. Championship. First won the U.S. Championship. I was thinking Jacob Fatu was going to be a great feud for him because you got somebody who's getting more and more over every single time we see him. And he's interesting as a personality and as a wrestler. So I was thinking people like Jacob were who we were going to see LA Knight face, but instead they kept giving him guys that weren't over. Like Andrade, and even though these guys are good in the ring, like, they're giving them Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, who just isn't over yet. You know what I'm saying? Which I could go on a whole tangent why they're not booking him right. But I was thinking we were going to get him with more interesting and over personalities in this title reign so that people would be more into LA Knight and the feuds he's involved in. But they kept putting him with guys that like weren't over. Like Santos and Shinsuke, it was just all these people that just weren't over, you know what I mean? And then Shinsuke didn't even end up doing anything with the U.S. title when he won it. Not that like it's all his fault, but he just also wasn't over, especially in this new era of WWE where so many people are getting momentum, newer stars like Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu and LA Knight, like these newer guys getting over. And I don't know. It could go on a whole tangent, but other than that, I can't wait to see the build up to this match. They only got 2 weeks left to do it. Hopefully we can get some good confrontation between the two because we've kind of already seen them brawl. So I think it's time for the talking between LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. Both over personalities. Anyway, then Kevin Owens, unfortunately, I almost said retired. He didn't retire. Hopefully he doesn't retire. Kevin Owens went out there in the middle of the ring. And, Nick Aldis first said, it's hard for me to say this, this is a tough business. Sorry, I'm still digesting some goddamn Papa John's pizza, so if it take me a minute to burp or whatever, that's why. Or if it take me a minute to, if I do like this, like, Pause like that. That means it's digesting. Anyway, Nikki Aldis, the man who looks like a car salesman with a shark fin haircut. The GM of SmackDown, Nick Aldis. He was basically Nick Almonds. No, I'm kidding. Nick Aldis, the SmackDown general manager, he was going out there and he was saying, in this business, it's tough on you. This is an unfortunate thing to deal with that I'm about to, tell you guys what's going on. This is an unfortunate thing that our wrestlers have to deal with at times. And this is why we say don't try this at home, man. This is all really dangerous. And what I'm about to say, or what the man I'm about to bring out is about to say, is going to be unfortunate. But, it happens in this business. And I'm going to let the man speak for himself. And that man is Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens comes out there, the music hits. He comes out there, you can tell he's a little, just not looking good demeanor-wise. This ain't even got nothing to do with the story between him and Randy Orton. Like, you can tell he really is upset, and this ain't even on no story type time, and this is like real life he having to deal with right now in this unfortunate circumstance. So he comes down to the ring. He's got his 10 years of, I think it was like 10 years of Finn Balor. So, supporting his friend and Finn Balor, wearing his shirt. You know what I'm saying? Because he always does that. He'll wear the shirt of his different, friends. Or even sometimes when he's feuding with, whoever he's feuding with, sometimes he'll wear their merch. So it's a little thing Kevin Owens does. But so he comes out there in the ring. And, man, he unfortunately had to announce that he had been dealing with a neck injury for a little while. And we all know in wrestling, neck injuries are serious. And it's not surprising how a good bit of wrestlers have to deal with it. Because, some obviously have more severe neck injuries than others, like where it unfortunately retires them temporarily. And it makes sense. With all the bumps they're taking on that, it's thin padding it's plywood with only thin layer of fabric and, padding right there in between it. So it makes sense when you're constantly falling on your back, that upper back and neck region is going to start taking a lot of impact. So it makes sense that a lot of wrestlers, unfortunately, have to deal with those neck issues and stuff like that. But Kevin, and the last time Kevin even took a lot of big bumps was that match he had on March 1st, Elimination Chamber against Sami Zayn, which was a great match. That was the last time he really took on a lot of dangerous bumps. Him taking that Alabama slam through the ladder at the Royal Rumble against Cody. He was taking a lot of stuff that would explain why that neck might be having some issues. But he was saying he was dealing with some issues, and that unfortunately he will not be able to make it at WrestleMania because he has to get neck surgery. So he says that, announces that. It's very unfortunate. Randy Orton comes out there, his music hits, and Kevin Owens just walks right past him. Like they're singing Orton's song or whatever. He gets a nice pop. He's walking up the steps as Randy Orton, and as he gets on the steps, on the top of the steps where the apron is at, Owens is on the middle part of the apron, and they look at each other for a little minute, and Owens jumps down from the apron and walks off. And then Randy Orton gets in the ring, and Nick Aldis tells him he can't face, or he's not gonna be able to have a match at WrestleMania. And so Orton then proceeds to RKO Nick Aldis in the middle of the ring because Randy Orton's the Viper, and he's obviously upset because the guy he has a lot of beef with, he legitimately cannot face him because he's dealing with a real life issue, not the character Kevin Owens, but the real life person Kevin Steen really has a neck issue. So, but to kind of keep that story up, and him being Randy Orton, being the Viper, they express his emotion and anger and frustration and or disappointment that he doesn't have a match at WrestleMania right now. He proceeded to RKO Nick Aldis. Now, people don't even remember. Remember when Orton initially RKO, when he first RKO'd Nick Aldis, he paid him double the money for the fine because he said the double money is for the second time so I'm paying in advance for the second time I might RKO you. And funny enough, he RKO'd him a second time. I feel like a lot of people forgot about that. I actually didn't. But anyway, then we see the camera pan to Kevin Owens as he's walking out towards the entryway, disappointed. Some fan in the front row, I guess, said something disrespectful. I'm guessing it had to have been either maybe he said something about his personal family and life, or maybe he said, oh, you deserve it. I'm guessing. You deserve that neck injury or whatever. I'm guessing, by the way. I don't know if that's what he said. I'm just thinking, what else could he have said? Because Kevin Owens, as he's walking disappointed, he pretty much breaks his character of being disappointed and walks back and he said, who said that? Who said that? He must have said something that pissed Kevin Owens off. And Kevin Owens legitimately is confronting this fan verbally. And they immediately, and once they saw it, Kevin Owens asking who said that, where that fan is at, and then he started talking to him. The camera immediately pans to Randy Orton just looking, disappointed and stuff like that he doesn't have an opponent. So you could tell Kevin was not supposed to do that, or they didn't want that on their television. So they panned to Randy Orton. So I don't know what that all was all about. I wonder if we're going to get any audio that was leaked or whatever. Leaked. That was recorded. of what all the fuck happened there. But yeah, it was yeah, I don't know what he said to make Kevin Owens feel the need to go back at him verbally, but they like I said, they pans the camera to Randy Orton, and that's how that situation ended. So yeah, other than that situation, the bulk of this or the main point of this was, yeah, it's just disappointing. Randy's not gonna be at WrestleMania, but even more disappointing we don't know what he's gonna do at WrestleMania. He probably will be there, but we don't know what he's gonna do, or he just unfortunately can't, continue his story that he had with Kevin Owens. But more important or more unfortunate than that, Kevin Owens being injured legitimately sucks. As we know, Kevin Owens is great on the microphone, just believable and confident, and knows how to tell stories. He's good at what he does, and in the ring, he's very athletic for his size. And what you would expect a guy like that would look like that would have that physique. He moves just quicker and more athletic than what you would think based off his physical appearance. And so yeah, he's good in the ring and he's good on the microphone. He's best at both, and he always gives it his all when it comes to the promos and stories and in the ring. So we love Kevin Owens because he loves this business, and we love this business. And we love Kevin Owens, man. I put him in that same light as Drew McIntyre as far as just somebody who's been doing fantastic heel work over the last, recently. Last year, Kevin Owens, he pretty much was killing it for that later part of the summer going into the fall, was killing it as a heel going against Cody. I mean, a lot of people were saying that Cody Rhodes' title reign didn't even really feel that great until that feud we got with Kevin Owens. I guess because Kevin Owens is a more legitimate heel we take as a world champion main eventer, because he did win the world championship at once upon a time. And he's just that good. So him and Drew McIntyre are just doing the greatest work in WWE as far as heels go that are there full time. Drew and Kevin have been killing the game at that, man. So, and really helping the interest in WWE for all the different good guys they have in the WWE. These guys have been killing it as the bad guys. So they've both been doing fantastic, man. So it really does suck. We love Kevin Owens, man. Hopefully he heals up properly, and do not heal. Don't try to come back in the ring too quick. With a neck injury and getting surgery on it as well. Well, they could, I heard with neck surgery, they'll sometimes, fuse the spinal cord and stuff. So it's so very serious. So we hope Kevin Owens does great, and we hope that when he comes back, or if he comes back, it is at the right time, not as quick as possible, but at the right time. You know what I'm saying? We'll all be waiting for you to pop like crazy, even though you're probably gonna end up being a heel. But we'll pop like crazy, but legitimately, all seriousness, hopefully Kevin Owens will come out great. So hoping for, I'm not gonna say speedy recovery, but just hoping he recovers properly, because we don't want to, neck injury, you want to deal with that. Take your time on that. Take your time. What's the rush? All right, you can know that song. Anyway, last two things I'm addressing. I'm up out of here. Tiffany Stratton. Oh, I'm sorry. Ray Phoenix Ray Phoenix debuted tonight in the ring. It was nice. I won't say it was a little better than okay. It was nice. He debuted against tag champion in NXT Nathan Frazier, which kind of was weird to me, because you would think the fact that his brother Penta, Ray Phoenix's brother Penta, debuted against Chad Gable, who is, over with the crowd to a certain degree, and we know is just great in the ring. You would think that they would put, Ray Phoenix maybe in there with the equivalent of that on SmackDown. Maybe it's a Andrade, even though he's not as over. He's been on the show. Maybe he faces an Andrade or something like that. But they went against Nathan Frazier. And, it was some couple of botches here and there. I felt Penta, even though they had a few botches, I thought Penta's match with debut match in WWE against Chad Gable was was much better than Ray Phoenix's debut, which his wasn't bad. Like I said, it was a nice match, but it was a few mess ups. And Frazier and, Ray Phoenix kind of have that similar aerial style, so that's what kind of made it get off a little bit at certain points. But overall, nice match. But it wasn't to me as smooth as the one Penta had with Chad Gable. But that's because Chad Gable was just on a whole nother level when it comes to the in-ring wrestling. So there's that too. And, Nathan Frazier's newer in the business than Chad Gable. So there's that and stuff like that. But nice little debut. But yeah, he's excited about being WWE. And we'll see how his SmackDown future ends up being, man. But anyway, we get to Charlotte and Tiffany. Now, some people said they didn't like this segment because it just felt so unscripted in a bad way, like unscripted and just all over the place, awkward, cringe, whatever. I thought this segment was, it was Nick Aldis in the middle of the ring and Tiffany as the WWE Women's Champion and Charlotte as the challenger from winning the Royal Rumble at WrestleMania where she challenged Tiffany Stratton. And they were all three in the ring. Nick Aldis as pretty much the moderator and Charlotte Flair challenger. Tiffany Stratton is the champion. And basically, Tiffany cooked, deep fried, sauteed, whatever the word is, and seasoned properly Charlotte Flair in the middle of that ring verbally. She said the following. She said, hey, like, Chicago, let us know what time it is. And the crowd goes, it's Tiffy time. It was loud. Like, you know how Punk does the point to the watch and, he's from Chicago. He does the point to the watch and they do the it's clobbering time. They said it's Tiffy time louder than they said it's clobbering time when Punk did his it's clobbering time. It was wild. So Tiffany's obviously over. And she said that Charlotte's battle that she will never win is the one she has with the fans, because the fans have never really liked Charlotte. They never really gotten with her because she's so over pushed and the fans don't feel she has the talent to get pushed that hard. Even though she has talent, they don't feel like she has enough to get pushed as hard as the WWE has pushed her. So she said the battle you'll never win is the one you have with the fans, which is low-key a shoot. Because she never, changes up her character, and also they never book her any different for you to see her in a different light. Anyway, that's beside the point. And she said that you'll always come second to your father, Ric Flair, which was a great line. Sure, we've heard it before, but still was a good line. And then she said that basically that at 25 years old, you were trying to be like basically you were training and trying out to be a volleyball athlete and you tried to be a top star in volleyball, but at 25 I'm the WWE Women's Champion and I'm defending my title at WrestleMania. Basically saying there's levels to this. Like, look what I'm doing right now at 25 versus what you were doing when you were 25. I think she said, did she say something about drinking your dad's something? I thought she was saying like his, I don't know what, I would have to go back and actually quote it properly, but it has, I thought she mentioned her Ric Flair, her dad. I thought she was mentioning him as well. Then she said the volleyball line. That's what you were doing at 25. But then the last thing she said that was really the killer here was like, you're going to leave WrestleMania just like how you are in real life. You will leave WrestleMania just like how you are in real life, and that is alone. Like, you're going to leave alone as in no championship, and alone as in you ain't got nobody, because if y'all don't know, she used to be with Andrade, but now they got a divorce. And Tiffany actually brought that up, that you whined about it on a talk show, because she did talk about it on a talk show, I think earlier today, or very recently she talked about it on a talk show. And, Tiffany was like, you're whining about it on a podcast, and that she, I think she called her a piece of shit, or like, it's something that involved the word shit, but the crowd was too busy reacting on all the other lines that I don't think that they caught it. And then Tiffany kind of Charlotte tried to jump in when she tried to use the piece of shit line, because her voice kind of cracked a little bit, and she was trying to make fun of that, but the crowd didn't give a shit about Charlotte making fun of her. So, your voice cracked. She's trying to make fun of her for that. But then she said that you're going to leave WrestleMania alone. And then she pointed at her ring and said, yeah, aren't you 0-3? And then she left the ring, which was great, because basically, for those who don't know, like, yeah, this would be Charlotte's, like, I think this is her third divorce. So that was a good, I thought it was her second, but no, that's the third. So damn, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what she meant by she's going to be alone as in not the champion, and alone as in you don't got a man. And then after Tiffany left the ring, Charlotte said, Ludwig Kaiser is in my DMs. She said that after Tiffany as she was leaving the ring and was not like on the floor, like walking away from the ring, she said that on the mic, and Tiffany didn't do anything. So that leads me to believe that she probably wasn't even planning to say that, because it'd be different like if she heard that and she turned around and attacked Charlotte, because she already, her and Ludwig Kaiser are together in real life, another wrestler on the roster in WWE. They're legitimately together in real life. So the fact that Tiffany didn't react to that line and just kept walking should let me know that, like, that tells me that probably wasn't the script, as they say, or that wasn't the plan going into this segment, because Charlotte was getting booed every time she tried to speak, y'all. Once Tiffany said the it's Tiffy time, After that, the crowd continuously booed Charlotte every time she tried to speak. And Charlotte was just so awkward on the mic. Like, she couldn't handle the boos. You know what I'm saying? Like, she kept trying to talk and then she wasn't talking. It's like she couldn't find a way to control the crowd when they're booing you like that. Which there's a way to do it, but she don't know how. Or she didn't do it. If she knew how, she didn't do that. So, crowd was getting to her. You could kind of tell on the mic. You got to watch the whole segment. But crowd was kind of getting to her on the mic every time she tried to speak. And then she hit the, like I said, little guys was in my DMs line. And it didn't, to me, it didn't hit because it came off like she was just trying to throw some type of insult after getting cooked like that. She tried to save herself in some way by throwing some type of line. But, you know, the crowd wasn't really having it, man. They didn't give a crap about that line. You know, like I said, it was weak compared to the stuff Tiffany said about saying she's alone and she's 0-3 with marriages and how she's going to leave alone because she ain't going to have that championship either. And how, you know, at 25-year-old, she's winning the WWE Women's Championship and going into WrestleMania. Meanwhile, you were trying out for the volleyball team and, you know, not doing well at that and stuff like that. But yeah, she just hit her with way too many lines for anything that Charlotte said to matter. So for those who don't know, they had a face-to-face a week or two ago where Charlotte actually cooked the crap out of Tiffany. And I was like, people was like, man, this makes Tiffany look so weak. And Tiffany's bad on the mic. I said, I don't think Tiffany's bad on the mic. I think WWE purposely orchestrated this to where Tiffany didn't say any like hard-hitting lines on Charlotte. They had to have done that on purpose because to make almighty Queen Charlotte, we just got to make her look strong, right? So I felt they did that on purpose. Because then you look what we got this week, and it's like, wow, it's like she's actually firing back now. I was like, I knew it went in a situation where she couldn't talk on the mic or didn't have any material to use. I think they just purposely had her not use material, but then she used it tonight, and she looked way better and looked way more like she stands a chance in there against Charlotte. Like I said, some people say it was all over the place, crappy and cringe and awkward. I said, to me, it was only awkward on Charlotte's end. Tiffany did great. To me, it was only awkward on Charlotte's end because she couldn't, like, find a way to get the crowd back, essentially, after they were booing her every time she tried to speak. So that honestly just further proved Tiffany's point that she can never win that relationship and that battle with the fans. So that pretty much proved her point. So like I said, Tiffany was on her shit tonight, man. We love Tiffy time, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully she retains the WrestleMania, even though she probably won't, because again, you know, they're pressure Charlotte. They can't let her down. She has to beat Ric Flair and Cena's record. You know what I'm saying? If Cena even sets the new record, you know Charlotte's going to probably break that too, you know. Because they got to force this narrative that she's the greatest women's wrestler of all time by constantly racking up these world title wins. Because they're trying to convince you so badly that she's the greatest female wrestler of all time when fans just... As you can see, the fans' reaction, they don't think that at all. Not that she isn't a good wrestler, but I don't think a lot of those fans think like she's the greatest of all time. I think that's just WWE trying to convince you of that. You know what I'm saying? And those fans, there's legit boos in there. Like, there's boos like because you're being a good heel. Then there's boos like, nah, we just don't want to see Charlotte Flair anymore. Which is most of the boos she's gotten since she's been in the WWE. Most of the time they booed her is because they hate the character. They hate the character. They hate her booking. They don't like Charlotte Flair. They think she's boring, or if they're not boring, they just don't want to see her. You know what I'm saying? But they just, you know, WWE doesn't see that, so they don't change her character in any way. You know what I'm saying? I almost say like she's still in her big dog phase. Like when Roman Reigns was getting booed because they hated his character and booking. I feel like that's the same. It's been like that with Charlotte since she's gotten the WWE. But they changed Roman to the Tribal Chief, which has done great, but yet still remain Charlotte's character the same as the Queen. But anyway, not to make this video 40 minutes, let's get into the end. The end of this was Roman Reigns pulled up. Beforehand, we thought that because Paul Heyman was stressing about Roman getting there. At first, we saw somebody pull up and it ended up being Seth, not Roman, coming out the car, and you know Seth was like, you know, hey, yeah, I'm want to see what this favor is too. And basically, we're at the end of the show, and we get Roman shows up, like he's finally the one that pulls up in the car, and he is marching to that ring like he is not, you know, usually as he would do, you know, putting the ones up with all the pyro, taking his time to the ring. He wasn't doing none of that. He just walked and marched straight to the ring. We on business. This is like one of the fastest entrances you've ever had. Like, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, he comes in there and basically he's trying to figure out what the goddamn F this favor is and tells Punk to get his goddamn tail out there. And then we get Seth coming in there, and Seth says that to Punk or to Roman that reality always ends up biting you in the ass because, you live in this bubble as the tribal chief, but then reality always finds its way to bite you in the ass, whether it was from the heist of and giving him examples of that was the heist of the century when he, beat him at WrestleMania 31. And, cashed in, had that legendary cash in at WrestleMania, the first time a world title switched hands at WrestleMania via cash in. And then said last year at WrestleMania, reality bit him in the ass when he, lost to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. And then, boom, CM Punk comes out there, and the crowd's, doing all their stuff. They're chanting OTC. They're doing Seth sing-along. And when Roman was on the mic, they were doing the Roman Reigns, Roman. So they took a little advice, from the European crowd. It's good to see it. And Chicago is a wrestling crowd, so they're going to be about as honest as they can get. So Punk comes out there, and Roman's like, you're only in this WrestleMania main event because of me. Like, they built my name. My name was, I built this place and all this other type of stuff for you to even, have this opportunity and stuff like that. And Roman is trying to know what the favor is. And Punk basically tells him the favor is that he wants Paul Heyman to be, like, his best friend and accompany him to the ring as his best friend, because in 2005, Heyman said that Heyman was the only person that basically believed in him in that time where everybody wanted to fire him. Heyman said no, and that he said that the day you main event WrestleMania, I will be by your side. That's what he said to Punk. I think it was on a Monday Night Raw. He actually said that to Punk, and Punk is basically tying that story in and saying, hey, like, that's the favor. And Roman's like sarcastically going, yeah, he's not taking that favor. Like, you tell him that F off with his favor. And yeah, you ain't doing that. And then Paul Heyman's like not resisting. And then Roman's like noticing that hesitation. And he said, I'm going to give you one more time to like turn down this favor. And Paul Heyman the whole time was saying like, yes, my tribal chief and all this stuff. And this was the one time he was like, I'm sorry, like, my tribal chief, I can't do it. And so yeah, Heyman's like, I can't do it. He was like trying to beg Jerome, like, I owe him, for Survivor Series, War Games, all that. I owe him, I live up to my word. And then Punk hits him behind the head with a mic, I think, and then he hits a GTS, go to sleep, and Rollins is just there on the ropes watching as a viewer as this haul unfolds, and that is how we went off the air. Punk music plays, and that's how we went off the air. I actually kind of forgot what Roman, other than him being sarcastic, saying, like, you're not going to really accept this offer. Other than that, and the, acknowledge me, I kind of forgot what Roman actually said in this segment, because the bulk of this was more of the favor. We finally got what that favor was. So, and I figured it would have had something to do with Paul Heyman, because that is the tie-in story-wise between Roman and Punk. The main tie-in for their story is Heyman, so I figured it'd have something to do with him getting Heyman or something like that. So, there it is, man. Only other thing I gotta say now is, like, some people thought it was gonna be something bigger. Maybe it has something to do with maybe getting a world title match if he were to win this triple threat match at Mania. And maybe that could be something down the line, but, some people were maybe expecting this to be a bigger deal, but for it to just make sense, it makes sense that this would be his favor. But the only thing I say is, like, damn, that's a massive. I mean, all he did was help Roman out at War Games. Like, so you help Roman out at War Games, and in return, he gets to have your wise. You get to have Roman's wise man. That's a pretty unfair exchange. Like, the War Games was a one-off. You telling him legit to be your best friend the whole time. Like, that's too much, Punk. You know what I'm saying? That's a massive favor. Like, the favor Paul asked you was, big, but the favor you had was massive. Like, damn, that's a long-term favor. That ain't even like a one-to-match, one-off thing. That's a long-term favor. But anyway, sorry I went on this so long. Y'all know how, when you talk about wrestling, I go on an hour. But love and appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good night, man. At the end of the day, we're going to say it is what it is, and what's going to be is project continue to come out with constant visual bangs over and over again. That is the vibe that DJ's on. Like, comment, subscribe before you go. Share with your friends. Post notifications on for future videos, and I shall see y'all in the next one, man. I'm out of here.